if all of us would just do what we already know to do, right? It would change everything.
Sure.
If we quit waiting on our spouse, quit waiting on somebody else, that we just do what we know to do. Even in leveling up, I think in our actions, that can be a lot of different things. But I think for that to really be productive in our life, we have to always be a student of our spouse, of our kids, learning, knowing them, understanding them. Through the seasons, we all change.
Your home, it matters. You're there to make a difference.
Well, it's Home Matters time again.
Yes, welcome to Home Matters.
We need a little jingle.
Early Wednesday morning, if you're already awake at 5:30 a.m. on Wednesdays.
Matters. That's early.
Yeah. But
not
again,
for some people.
Yep, that's right.
The people that's not early for, though, they're in the bed probably when I'm still cleaning up the kitchen.
Maybe so. We're glad you join us always.
Always.
Good to have you with us.
Man, we don't take it for granted. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one more plug, Parenting Matters conference coming up the end of this month.
Yes.
Or no, the end of
May.
Yeah, the end of this month coming up.
End of May, 29th and 30th.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, this coming month.
Yeah.
We're at the end
Anyway,
of April.
it's coming.
We're glad that you're taking the time, share the podcast. We've been talking about taking our game up. Leveling up is the phrase that we use, leveling up.
And getting a plan to do so.
Your elevated, what's that say?
Faith.
Elevated faith jacket. And we talked about leveling up our faith. So, again, did you get that made just for this subject?
I hand embroidered it.
Yeah. Not like you him a shirt or a pair of pants. So
I don't
we won't
sew.
go there.
I don't
She don't sew. She don't
I mean,
sew.
I own it. I
I
sew.
don't know what happened, but I think she, as my wife, she should be able to sew for me. And
nope, can't do it. Ain't even gonna try. I don't want to learn.
Hey,
last
time I needed something sewn up. Guess who did it? I did it. I did the sewing.
I wish you could have seen that.
Yep, and I did a great job with it. So, again, by the way, welcome to Home Matters. We're glad you joined us today. And no, again, it's always
this is your life. That's what we're just sharing our life.
We're going to level up some more. So let's start off. We're talking about this whole thing of
being intentional about leveling up, having a plan. Leveling up in our faith, and just knowing that you just keep on doing what you know to do. Don't grow weary, Galatians 6:9, but you will see the result. And today we just really want to kind of give some practical, maybe just practical things. What can we level up in? What is the plan? I guess this would be the plan, really. Help
just
us
some
to level
places. And again, we've been saying it over and over. If you know what to do and don't do it, you're living in disobedience and in your walk with the Lord. So again, we just encourage you to make sure that you're willing to do what you know you can do.
That's right.
Do what you already know to do today. So when it comes to that, we're gonna just some practical applications of that in our lives and what we've seen, that there are things that, we used the word intentional a lot last time about leveling up. Then what are those places in life that we very simply can begin to do something about?
This area is just so practical. It's going to sound ridiculous, but you just level up in your actions. I mean, repetitive, yes. We've already said over and over, if you listen to a couple previous podcasts and talking about level up, if all of us would just do what we already know to do, right, it would change everything.
Sure.
If we quit waiting on our spouse, quit waiting on somebody else, that we just do what we know to do. But even in leveling up, I think in our actions, that can be a lot of different things. But I think for that to really be productive in our life, we have to always be a student of our spouse, of our kids, learning, knowing them, understanding them. Through the seasons, we all change. But, what are those actions? I mean, is this a season where they really need more support from me?
I think, just some improvement in places. And again, when we're talking about actions, we're actually talking about deeds.
Yeah.
If it's acts of service, if you're the love language person out there, it's the acts of service that you can commit to, the things that you can do. Even if you're not, so that ain't my love language. I'm saying that there are probably some things that you can still do differently.
Yes.
Or that you can do initially that probably would help you out in your marriage and in your parenting.
Yeah, I mean, what actions would just improve you as a husband and would improve you as a wife? I mean, just part of it too, I think, is just being creative and doing something different that doesn't, or really that maybe kicks us out of being so boring. Help me say that the right way. I'm having trouble getting my words out today, but
well, you're saying that, it just some activity. It just kind of gets us. You're saying there's something we can do to kickstart us, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of get us moving. And again, if we're just kind of stuck in a place, it may be that you need to do some things that maybe you've never done before. It's kind of that momentum thing. Once you get the big ball rolling, it'll keep moving. And I think that's true a lot of times with our actions. Little things like, things around the house or, actions on things that maybe need to be taken care of for the other person or for somebody in our home. It's just things.
Easy as serving
it is person. So simple. It sounds silly almost, really.
Yeah, but I think it's just key to really taking that first step to leveling up. Maybe it's just, the action of fixing the other's plate for dinner. Maybe it's the action of saying I love you more often than we have. Maybe it's
we'll get
vacuuming.
Into that a little bit before we're done.
You didn't want me to say that one. Or taking out the trash.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, why are you laughing?
You naming all these little things that kind of I can do. And I do those things.
Name me some. What are some actions I can level up?
You do everything just perfect.
Oh, my goodness. You're right. Right.
You could sew every once in a while. That would help out. But
I'm just going to put my foot down on that one there. I'm not going to be intentional about that.
That's rebellion.
I don't think God called me to sew.
Again, we're going to get some help.
Work on me. No, but in your actions, what can you do? I mean, man, if it is meeting your husband at the back door when he comes in from work, I mean, you say, that's so silly. That's just a little something. No, something that silly and that little, I think do you like it when I do that?
Shoot, yeah.
Yeah,
I do. I love it. All that's fueled out of this next action point, or this next step that we can take as far as leveling up, and that is our thoughts.
Absolutely.
When we're talking about doing better, leveling up our relationships, leveling up our parenting, or any relational issues, you can always do better with probably handling your thoughts. You can probably
for sure. To think the way we think about our spouse or think about our kids. We're talking about the whole family here. Okay, so how am I thinking about them? If all day long I'm just thinking they just aggravate me to death. I just don't know why they do that or why he said that or why my kids won't do this. If we stay in that just tone in our head all day, I think of thinking that way, man, what can we expect?
Yeah.
But a lack of peace and a lack of affection when we get home.
Yeah, your thought life is so important anyway about
Bible's
life.
clear, right?
Yeah, you think, this man thinks, so is he.
Yeah.
There's so much that's important about that. I always throw this out there. If God didn't give us a capacity or ability to change our thought life, probably 100 times you've heard me say that, if not more.
A few.
Again, I mean, He gives us the ability to handle our thought life, and people that say, "Well, I just can't help it." Yes, you probably can. They're true signs, indications. People that even go through things like dark times, like depression. You know what studies show? One of the things that will help that is getting up and doing something different.
Yeah, man.
Serving somebody.
Yeah,
being active. All of that helps in those places. And usually, if people choose those those dark thoughts, those dark places in life, you know, you usually can get something moving or do something different in terms of what in your actions to get probably your thought life aligned a little differently.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's something that we emphasize enough, because usually people want to carry the thought or the mindset that I can't help my thoughts.
That's true.
When I think
that's true. I mean, what they did or what they said, you know, I can't help it that I'm thinking on that. It hurt me. It made me mad, you know, but you have to, the simple way I think of it is you have to turn the channel on that. You know, if Eric says something to me in the morning and it kind of rubbed me wrong, I decide whether I'm just going to let that mull over in my head all day, or if I'm going to say, all right, that's not going to hold me. That's not going to, you know, impact our relationship in a negative way. Forget it. It's all good. I've probably said something to tick him off before, and he forgave me. So we just keep moving from it, right?
May not have meant like I took it.
Like I took it, exactly.
We can change, again, we can change the way we're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's just when we give ourselves room or give ourselves permission.
Yeah.
To just do whatever, think whatever.
Right.
And then we wonder what's wrong, you know, why we don't look at our marriage any differently than we do, or parenting any different. I think that one of the things you realize with your thought life, you know, you can move yourself, you can live in a place of dread all the time. Yes. It's like if you're not careful, you can live in that place of dread. You got this thing that is out there, this place in life that you got to, and you know, before you know it, you're thinking on it all the time, and you dread ever getting to that place or dread ever dealing with that issue.
Yes.
And it's all because you've worked that up in your thinking.
Yeah. I mean, you choose to stay there. I remember Joyce Meyer wrote a book years ago that I read that talked about dread and regret and how we just get stuck in those things. And because you're stuck there, you never move on to anything else that God ever has for you. And that's what we're saying with this. If you're going to level up, there are going to be some things you got to leave behind, right? You got to step beyond and see. I think in this section too, we have to say that you have to see the big picture. Yeah. We talk about that a lot with home and family. What is it that God wants to do with you as a couple, as a family? See that. See the future. See when your kids are grown and they're out of the home and it's you and your husband again. You say, I don't even want to think about that. Look, you need to plan for it now. Yeah. And let me just tell you, it's not that bad. I kind of like it. Yeah. I like hanging out with you.
But again, it's the way you think about it.
Exactly.
When you think about intimacy, how do you think about it?
Yeah.
Do you think about that as your thoughts always on your wife, or the thoughts on everybody else, or anything else? Again, your thought life. We're saying if you want to level up your life, then you gotta maintain your thought life. Yeah. And a lot of times, if you'll just think of her differently, or think of him a little differently, think of him romantically, think of him intimately, think of him sexually, and all of that. And if you can change your thoughts, if you level up your thoughts, you'll be amazed and surprised at how it may produce and impact your life.
It will impact.
And again, mainly we're dealing with marriage there, but that's true in so many different areas.
The way you think about your kids. I mean, man, never limit your kids. You say, well, you don't know my kids. No, I don't, but I can tell you this, that they are very capable of more than we even can imagine that they are. With the Lord's help, right?
Yeah, just think if God had not had the right thoughts toward us. So he said, Jeremiah 29:11, he said, I know my plans for you. They're thoughts of good and not evil. He has a future and a hope.
God, help us think like you do.
I want to live with my kids. I want to always live with the thought processes in place that, hey, they're going to be fruitful. They're going to be, I've got good plans. I've got good thoughts for them. And again, I think that we fail to realize that does affect them. Absolutely. Whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
Right?
And don't, the word is clear. God can help you with your thoughts. Man, he'll transform your thinking if you'll allow him to. Yeah. Now we have our part to do. Right. But man, when you hit a wall and you say, God, you got to help me right here with our thoughts. I absolutely believe he will.
It's always so amazing though, that if you'll give place for it.
Yes.
How much room. Grace will do. I've always, You know, I heard Bishop Tony Miller say it this way, where grace is always, how do he say it? He said, where grace is always opposed to working, it's never been opposed to effort. Grace has never been opposed to effort. So again, if we just put in
our part, put in
effort,
some effort.
if we just put in some effort, put in a place or give room for it, it's amazing what God will do.
That's good. That's good. So level up your actions, leveling up your thoughts, and let's land on this one. Level up in your conversations and the way you speak to one another, what you speak about, how you talk, what speech and what conversation you allow in your home. I think that's so important.
What about speech and conversations you have outside of your home?
Absolutely.
You know,
everywhere you're
talking. What are you giving life to? What are you giving
It
room
matters
for?
what you say. We just said it matters what you think on. We know that's clear in the scripture, but it's also clear it matters what we say. How do we speak to one another? You know, is it always just with disregard and disrespect and harsh and degrading? I mean, is that the only way? I think a lot of times that is the speech and the conversation that we allow in our house, because sometimes we've been nice all day and we're just tired of being nice.
Yeah,
so.
But I mean, really, I'm saying that, you know, not just within ourselves, but outside. You know, what is our conversation like about our relationship, about our family, about our
to others?
Yeah, I mean, what is our conversation like? I mean, if it's always naysaying, it's always what's wrong, it's always again, you can look at your conversations. Listen, always remember power of death and life are in the tongue, right?
That's right.
So we're given power, we're given life to those things that are not right. The more we talk about them, and again, all I'm saying is, if that's all you talk about, guess what?
Yeah.
You're giving life to that. If you begin to change your conversation about it, and again, talk about marriage in a good light rather than a bad
Thankful
life.
for my husband. Thankful for my wife.
Yeah.
Thankful for the life we have
My
together.
wife's amazing.
Kids.
What would happen if your friends, you know, every day at work or wherever you are, every day
they downgrading their old lady?
Yeah, and you start saying, "Man, my wife's amazing. I just thank God for her." You know,
sorry
she's
you guys
she's
bummed out, but I got a great wife.
Yeah, doing so many different things.
Same on my end, right?
Exactly.
Y'all ought to meet my husband.
Yeah, so
incredible.
it can be a reality, and you say,
absolutely,
do I have to fake it? No, I think that as you begin to put life to it, speak life to it, I believe that some of those things will begin to change. The dynamics of it will change.
Yes.
From the standpoint of reality for your life, and also to change your perspective about it, because again, really and truly, I think that so many times we pronounce so much of a shadow and a cloud over.
I'd like to pull our kids in right here as adults, because in our house, you especially, more so than me, wouldn't allow, negativity really in our conversation. And so many times, even in saying something like, "I'm sick, I don't feel good, I'm not," you're like, don't even say that. No, I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying it was good that you pointed out to us, hey, it matters what you're saying. That it matters what you proclaim over your life. That's very important. And so in talking about leveling up, man, that has to be a place that we look at.
I think that come out of, you said I did that more, it came out of my own experience, because I knew what it was to be damning in my conversation. I knew what it was for there to be no life flowing out of my conversation, my words. So when I came to the Lord, early on, I remember, and you've heard me share this story, I was praying and God gave me this verse in Psalms 141:3, I think it is, where, it says that, David prayed, "Oh God, put a guard at my lips."
Guard at my lips, yeah.
That there's a guard at my lips, and the words that come out of my mouth are not contrary to you, not contrary to your word.
Plan, yeah.
And I think that it's so easy for us. I say it this way: until my words become His words, and His words become my words, then I haven't really aligned my life.
That's good.
And when it comes to leveling up, man, what a way to level up our conversation. just by saying, God, keep me in line with what your word says. It doesn't mean that I have to look around all the time and pretend everything's sparkly and everything's glorious. But at the same time, if I do see something, I don't have to give it more life by my words.
Right.
I don't have to give it more place because of my words.
That's good. That's good. Man, we have spent a lot of time past few weeks really talking about leveling up.
Yep.
But I would just say we push you. We encourage you there just because we know God has so much for your life. And, man, we don't want you to live beneath or below anything that God has planned for you. And, man, go after it.
Yeah, not the same old, same old. God wants to break you out of that.
Yeah.
And all we're saying is, man, just say, hey, today we're going to start leveling this thing
Doing
up.
some things different. Doing what we know to do.
Dimension. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actions, thoughts,
and it is
conversation.
That simple. It is that simple.
Absolutely.
And we want to complicate it, want to read books and try to figure somebody out. Just do some stuff that stop waiting on them. Do some stuff. Do some things that you know you can do.
That's right.
And watch things change.
Love it. Yeah. Let's level up.
We're
going to level up too. Man, we love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Your home matters. And, man, we are praying for you. We're pulling for you.
Yeah.
Great life in front of you.
Hope you share the podcast, share it with others, and see it affect your life and your family tree.
That's right.
Again, always, your home does matter. And until next time.
Take care.
See you then.